Welcome back to another edition of A Warrior Spirit where the inner warrior shines in their light. Presented by Praxis 33, the company that aligns your thoughts, goals, and actions to create your best life. I'm your host, Daryl Snow, and today we're going to be talking with Debbie Bellon. Debbie is a Reiki master. She's an Akashic Records guide, a holistic transformation guide, and she uses Reiki, Akashic Records, and other energetic modalities to support people on a holistic transformational journey. So we want to grab your seats and hold on for a deep dive into the mystic. Uh, Debbie, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I am thrilled to have an energy and a light worker join me. It is something that is near and dear to my heart, having a wife who is also a healer and a Reiki master and an energy healer. I love talking about the mystic and how to demystify it for others because, in my experience and maybe yours, a lot of what energy workers do, people don't often understand is actually also not woo, but actually, if they're so inclined, they can find it in the Bible, they can find it in nature, they can find it everywhere that they look. So, um, how did you get from the growing up in Midwest Ohio, which isn't where you actually think of when you think of let's go to the mystic, let's go to Ohio. How did you get from the,
Oh,
the the youth of Ohio to where you are now?
that's a great question. I think for me, I grew up in a really, really small farm town. So, Northwest Ohio, tiny, tiny town. Our population was like 3,000 people. It was really small, just surrounded by farmland. And so there was a lot of really close-minded people. And I just, you know, um, really me and my best friend that I grew up with, still best friends, it was that, how you just like nobody around here thinks like we do kind of a thing. And so it even piqued my curiosity even more of, well, don't people wonder about this kind of stuff? I mean, aren't they interested in it? And that's really where it started, was just a curiosity. And I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more.
How old were you when that started? Because I grew up in a town of 7,000, so I understand small town mid America. I grew up in Iowa. Um, we had corn for days and nothing to do. So, but how did, especially in small town, closed-minded is a good descriptor of most small towns, right? Everyone knows your business. Everyone knows, everything about you that they shouldn't. So they're not really open to the um, unknown. How did young Debbie go and navigate that into your own curiosity? Like, what sparked it for you?
I think it was my grandmother.
Okay.
She was really open. Like I used to go to church with my grandmother, but I remember then it came a time where a new minister came to town, and his way of being and doing was far different than the previous minister that we had. And he was all about, fire and brimstone. I mean, he would yell and scream in church and stuff. And it was a lot of his viewpoints that my grandmother she didn't believe in. And so she decided, that's it, I'm done. I'm leaving the church. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, okay. But I always knew that she was open-minded. I mean, she was very accepting of people. It was just not, she didn't speak it, but it was just her way of being. And then when that happened, let's see, I was probably 15, I want to say, maybe not quite 15. And then it just really made me start thinking about, wow, okay, this is, I need to really start looking into this deeper, into what my beliefs are and standing up for my beliefs. And yeah, it just really kind of opened things up even further for me there. And it made me realize, because so many people are fearful, and then it's fear of, well, what will this person think? Well, what will that person think? And, it's just, we can't live our lives in fear of what everybody's going to think. it's no way to be. So
Yeah, and then when you find, because I consider myself a Reformed Catholic, because my uh, family on my mother's side was strict Catholicism. My dad's side was more evangelical. So I went to Mass on Saturday and church on Sunday. And there comes a point where we have to decide, is this what I truly believe, or is this what my parents have taught me to believe? And sometimes they're in alignment, and oftentimes they are, but sometimes they're not. And to have the courage to step out against that, and then when you find that one friend or that one person who, thinks similarly, and you're like, oh, it's like water, you're like, oh, I'm not alone. Thank you. I can, I can drink now, right?
yes, yeah. And it's not that my grandmother told me that I had to do the same. It was just me observing her and then getting curious and asking her, what's going on? What is this? And she really just had open conversations with me about what her beliefs were. She didn't try to push them on me, and about how if the minister was preaching this and she didn't believe in it, why would she go and sit there and, perpetuate this and support these beliefs? And I just thought, wow, it just, to me, it took so much courage for her to do that, but to her it was just, no, this is just who I am and this is what I'm doing. So yeah.
When you were growing up in that small town, and then you started to develop these different viewpoints, um, teenage years are often difficult anyway for, for children, and then to not have the same thoughts and values as those around us, in order to express those kind of can make things even harder. Did you find it was easier because you were standing in your authenticity, or difficult because you were going against the grain?
It was really difficult because I mean, I had the same fears, right? I was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? But luckily, my best friend, who actually she grew up Catholic, her and I were just on the same wavelength. So we had each other to talk about this and to say, what is this? And so a really is a very funny memory, but a memory that we have of being really, really young is we were in the car. Her and I were sitting in the back seat. Her mom was driving the car. She was driving us somewhere. I don't know where, but her name was Laura, and Laura and I are talking, and we're saying, "Oh my gosh!" And we're talking about this, and we're saying, "What is wrong with them? Like, why can't they see that?" And then her mother from the front seat said, "Did you ever think that maybe it's just you two, and that it's not everybody else?" And we just looked at each other like, "What is she even talking about?" So it's really funny because at the time it was, being so young, not being able to see another person's perspective, but not understanding why they couldn't open up or see something. And really, the truth is that they just couldn't. It's like it. I mean, I've come to realize through a lot of work that we all have our own vibrational frequency, and when we're on a different frequency, especially a very different frequency than somebody else, then it's like speaking a foreign language to them. They literally cannot understand us. And so it's just really interesting thinking back on some of those points. And it's not so much to the fact that I thought, oh my gosh, these people are such weirdos. What is wrong with them? There's something wrong with them. It was so much as that, how can I see this and they don't, when a lot of them were older than me, and just had more life experience. And I thought, how can they not see this? But again, I just realized, as time goes on, that we're all different. We all have different experiences. We all vibrate differently. And what that point of attraction is different for all of us. And that really kind of determines what our vibration is going to be, whether we're going to be at a higher vibration or a lower vibration. So it's really interesting.
It's extremely interesting, especially when you start talking about vibration, because most people don't understand that. And everything is energy. Everything does vibrate at a frequency, and what you vibrate, you attract. So when you start talking that kind of language and things, it does often set you apart. So when you got done with high school, and did you move on to college? Did you move away right away? What happened as you entered the latter teen years into young adulthood?
I went to college, to a 4-year college, Bowling Green State University, right there by my hometown. And then I was on summer break and I went to visit my sister in Las Vegas. And I went out there and I decided I was going to stay. I didn't want to go back because, here I am in this huge city where I'd never been in the comfort with my sister. She's 3 years older than me. And it was just, I just couldn't see myself going back and trying to fit back into that life when I didn't fit into that life, or I felt like I didn't fit into that life to begin with. So yeah, I stayed in Las Vegas and I met my husband there. It's just been, but it really opened me up. I had a lot of experiences there, and it was really important, I think, because it's such a melting pot for people. Whereas where I lived, it was everybody was pretty much the same. So out there really got me just really um, more involved with different thought patterns, the way different people think, and just different people's experiences and what that looked like for them, talking to them, learning about people. I love learning about people. I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing about how did you get to where you are? Like what happened? It's so interesting. And nothing is linear. It's always, here, there, and everywhere else. And I think that makes it more interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because I used to just literally throw a dart at a map and then move every couple years. Wherever it landed, I would go. And my sister, who stayed in our little town for a long time, she's like, "Aren't you afraid? Like, you're moving all the time." I'm like, people are people. You treat them nice, they treat you nice. You're a jackass, they're going to be a jackass. So it's really, but you do find out really quickly that there are stories in everybody. They have their own path and their own journey. They have their own hardships and their own struggles, and they're just trying to get by with what they have. And not all the tools in the toolbox are the same, so not all the reactions are the same. So,
Yep.
as you stepped into your adult life, what was your first job coming out of college?
My first job was a cocktail waitress in a casino. That was my first job.
That leads right into holistic healing.
Yes, it does.
There's a lot of sorrow there to heal. What what was the transformational point or the pivot point when you said, "Okay, I have all these interests and beliefs, and I understand vibration and energy. I want to now help others in that." When did you start making your interest your career?
Well, I learned transcendental meditation, and so that also really opened me up. I learned that early on, and then I wanted to get into massage therapy. I had, I really had wanted to do that for a while. So I worked a little bit longer, and then at the time, massage therapy school, it was you couldn't go to a 4-year college or something like that. You couldn't get funding for it, so you just had to pay out of pocket. And so I saved up to do that. I went. I absolutely loved it so much. And then I started working in a health facility in a gym. And it just, in massage school, we learned so many different modalities. So we learned, it just touched on, I should say, we touched on Reiki, we touched on kinesiology and all these other things, acupressure, acupuncture, or not acupuncture, acupressure. And so that opened me up even further. And then I started doing massage. I loved it so much. I love being able to help people. I love the more holistic approach of everything, being, able to expose people to that who had no exposure to it. And then just also in linking arms with people who were in it, who had been doing it and learning from them and opening myself up even further just to the human spirit, really, to, listening to people's stories and finding different ways of helping them. And then um, I got pregnant. It was a long history there with trying to have kids. We were told we would never have children. It wasn't going to happen. And then, so I got pregnant after a few miscarriages and just thought, okay, here we go again. But then, lo and behold, I had a baby girl. And so that changed everything for me. And I just wanted to be a stay-home mom. I just wanted to just dive right into it, and I did. And then a few years later, I had my son. I loved being a stay-at-home mom. And then, my kids got older and I started thinking, what am I going to do? I've been having Reiki sessions from this woman who I just absolutely adored, became a good friend of mine. And we moved to Florida and I kept up with the distance Reiki. And then unfortunately, she passed away. And I just thought, okay, I'm done. I, having somebody work with my energy, aside from me working with my own energy, is really a personal thing. And I just thought, you know, this woman, Catherine, she was so great. I don't want anybody else doing this. I can't. I just don't trust anybody. Um, so and a lot of it was also just in her loss, in the loss of her attaching that modality to her. I was going to learn from her, and I wasn't able to. So I decided I'm done with it, and then don't know what happened. About well, it was a couple years later. I just one day said, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to do Reiki. And so I found someone who I just absolutely love her. And so I took my 1 and 2 and my master's from her and never looked back.
I'm smiling really big because I've lived here in Phoenix 3 times. I've moved here, moved away, moved here, moved away. And in Phoenix, there's a school, Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. And Casey Miller started this school 25 years ago, teaching the holistic, modalities and teaching all that. And it's
Hmm.
funny to me because massage therapy seems to be the gateway drug into all the other all the other modalities. Like if you speak to Reiki masters and many of them have started in like massage therapy, so I'm just amused by that. But to find your passion and to find your calling, especially when you find it in a school like Sweehaw or where you went to school, it's just I watched my wife when she started her holistic journey, and it's just like this lotus flower that just blossoms out of the mud where they were into the brightness that they're supposed to be. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch, and such a gift to give others. And what's cool to me, from an outsider in, not having done what you guys do, when you help somebody in a holistic way and they see the transformation in their own life that happens from it, because energy healing, it's not like you're fixing a broken bone where you can see the bandage and the surgery and all that. It's an internal energy that changes. And to see non-believers relent to, okay, I'll give it a try, to then seeing the healing that comes from it. I just love when they light up. And then what I love even more is watching them tell others about, oh, you got to go to Debbie, or you got to go to Elsa, you got to, you know, this person is amazing. When in fact, the healer themselves understand that they're not the one who's doing the healing, it's the person that they're treating. So they, you know, they are opening up another person's energy to heal themselves. Do you find that to be so true in your own practice?
I do. I love that description that you said because it really is true. It is such an unfolding because we experience so much of our death, right? That we can't help but then just blossom into that. And yes, it's true. Now, some Reiki practitioners will call themselves healers, and I understand because after a while, because people are like, "Oh, she's a healer, he's a healer, he's a healer," but really we're not doing the healing, just like you said. It is opening up the person. They're allowing this energy to come in, and then their own body is doing all of the work. They're doing all of the healing themselves. And a lot of healing is like that when we stop and think about it, right? And it's just, I don't know, I find it so incredibly fascinating. Yes. And then it almost takes the same effect on them, when they take it to heart, and then they start to blossom, and it happens to them too. So yeah, I love it. I love it so much. And the thing with massage, originally it was because people don't get enough human touch. And I just thought,
Hmm.
people need touch. People don't even know they need touch. But then as soon as you put your hands on someone and you feel them relax under you, it's like, okay, you just know that this person hasn't had this in a while. And it's just it's so nice. It's nice to be able to offer that to someone.
Yeah, and Eastern medicine's had it right for a long time. Western, especially Americanized medicine, has had it wrong for a long time. I mean, you go back to, the ancient days of acupuncture or reflexology and pain points on you know, there's points on your feet that are connected to your every part of your body. There's parts of your hands that are connected to every part of your body. And it's all because it's energetically connected, and you just got to have the right pressure, the right point, the right touch to, affect those other areas. And a lot of our healing in, especially the United States, is wanted to be done in a pill bottle, when a lot of it can be done
Mm,
herbally or through energetic healing. And it's an awareness that I think more people are starting to come into. I love the fact that energy workers no longer have to hide in the shadows; they can stand in their truth. And you know, Sedona, Arizona, is a huge vortex of energy healing. People from
yes.
all over the world come to Sedona to, find this place. And to bring it forth, I think is pretty amazing. One thing that you do that is um, unique to the people that I know, because I only know a handful of people who do it. I know a lot of people who do the energy work, but I don't know a lot of people who do the Akashic Records part. And it always fascinates me because my wife and I have had Akashic Records readings, and so it's kind of an interesting um, session. But how did you specifically get into the Akashic? And can you explain that to those who are listening, what that actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. I wanted to go back to something that you said before about with the healing and everything. And the interesting thing that I find is that virtually all of my clients now are distance Reiki. And or of my Reiki clients are distance. Even the people that I had here in town just prefer then to stay in their own place. And the interesting thing about that is that you don't even have to touch a person in order for them to feel it. We have to have faith and belief that the energy works, right? Just like, you pick up your cell phone and we know that it connects to something over there, and I can make a call, I can text somebody. I don't exactly know how it works, but I know that it's working. Reiki, Akashic Records, it's the same thing, but because it's so foreign, and I mean, like when I first started, people thought I was doing voodoo. Literally, I mean, I've had relatives unfriend me on social media. It's just been crazy.
Yeah.
But with the Akashic Records, it's an even harder concept for people to grasp. And so the Akashic records are an energy field, okay? So it's just this field of energy. There's no right or wrong in it, there's no good or bad, there is absolutely no judgment. It is basically a footprint, a blueprint of our soul, of everything, every thought, word, deed, action that we have had, that we have done, and it keeps track of it. So when we go into an Akashic records, so for example, when somebody comes to me for an Akashic Records reading, they have to give me permission to access their records. I cannot access anyone's records without their permission. And even given permission, I can only access the records to find out the answers to the questions that they're asking me. So I can't go in and see, oh, what did she do yesterday? What are her thoughts on this? It doesn't work like that. There's no capability. So somebody will come to me and they'll ask me a question. And so then we access the records. We access this field of information, and the information then comes through. So for me, it usually comes through as more of an impression. I don't get words. I don't hear it. It's an impression or a feeling. And then I take that information and then I kind of put it into words. And then I talk to the client about it and we see, okay, is this resonating with you? And you can ask follow-up questions. It's not like I asked a question in the records. This is the answer I got back. I don't understand it, and I just have to accept it as is. No, you don't. You work with the energy. Ask a clarifying question. Now, I will say that some of the questions that you ask, you might not get an answer to only because it's always working for our highest good. So if it's not for our highest good to have this information right now at this point, for whatever reason, then we won't get it. And I mean, the reason could be as simple as, well, if I gave Debbie this information now, she might become so preoccupied with it, she's not going to do these other things that are for her highest good first before she gets to that point. So that's kind of how it works. And I help people formulate their questions. You can literally ask anything you want in the records. Again, you might not get all of the answers, but you will start to get stuff back, and then we just work with that information, and we go from there. It's really it's really interesting.
It's fascinating to me, but it's also it, 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 when people pray, you know, they're praying to whatever they believe their God to be. But when they pray, many people that I've come across tend to think that the answer is always going to be yes, and it's not. Sometimes the answer is going to be no. Sometimes the answer is going to be not now. And sometimes the answer is going to be yes. But if you're only expecting a yes, then it's not for your highest good, because sometimes what we want and what is good for us aren't always the same thing. I mean, I want a box of cookies, but they're not good for my waistline, right? So
Right.
you have to, and it was told to me a long time ago, and I believe this to be so true. When we pray, or whatever we're deeming our prayer, it's us speaking to God. But when we meditate or pause or be quiet, that's us listening for the answer. And so many people are too busy chattering that they can't hear the answer. But when you go within to the Akashic Records or the energy healing, you're forcing yourself to be quiet to hear the answer. And, um, especially growing up Catholic, you were taught to be afraid of God. You weren't taught to have a relationship with God. And part of Praxis 33, part of my business pillar is co create, because we co create the life we want by communicating and having that relationship with the entity that we choose to believe in. And if you're always just talking, then it's a dialogue, not a mono, or not a. I mean, if you're always talking, then it's just a monologue, not a dialogue, right? So you have to have a dialogue with your higher self, with what's best for you, and you have to be willing to understand that the entire answer might not be presented to you in the way it's going to shape out. You might hear, and I give the example of this podcast. I heard that I was supposed to do this podcast. I heard it at a time when I didn't own a camera or a microphone. So, of course, I was open and willing to do that. No, I had to, I had to be
Exactly.
faithful that there was a reason for me hearing that. And then once I picked up the camera and the microphone, the things that I was led to be doing came to fruition. So, it's interesting that people, you said something before about the phone, and it's just like these streaming services that are out there, right? You're so willing to believe that you can just push a button and then through the airwaves, whatever program you want, not connected to any wire or cable, is suddenly going to materialize in front of you. Well, that's energy. That's how the body works. That's how life works. That's how everything we do works. It's energy. But you can believe in Wi-Fi, but you can't believe in your own intuitive energy. Oh, my Wi-Fi is out. My cell service is out. Well, so is your connection with your higher self, because you're chattering too much.
Yes, that's a great example, Daryl. Yeah, and so to take that a little bit further, sometimes people will have either accidents or they'll get sick and then they're just out and they are like, oh my gosh, this is at the worst time possible. I can't afford to take a break. Well, that's why this happened, because you're forced to take that break. You're forced to just take a rest. It's important. And you're right. If we're always chattering, we can't hear what's coming in. And also, something else that you said about how this was put upon you, right? This was that you were to do this, and you thought, what the heck? No. But what did you do? You listened, you took the steps, and then it opened up. And so sometimes I think it's almost, I don't want to say that it's a test for us, but it's almost a little breadcrumb to say, okay, I'm putting this out here. Let's just see if you take this. If you take it, great, so much is going to open up for you. If you don't, I'm going to have to give you another bread, going to have to keep just repeating this. And that's one of the biggest questions people come to me with the Akashic Records is, why do I keep repeating this pattern? It's because you didn't learn what you needed to the first time. I mean, myself included. I do this work because I need this work. And so it's really important for us to just get quiet and just listen. And you're right, we might not always like the answer, but it is always, 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 always for our highest good. It really and truly is. There's things that I'm sure has happened that people can look back and go, oh my gosh, at the time, I thought that was the absolute worst thing that could happen to me. But oh, wow, look how that turned around. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't enjoy a buffet if you don't even enjoy the sandwich. So, and I say this a lot, when we're in the middle of our shit, we're not sitting there going, "Oh, thank God for all this crap." We're, going, "Oh, help try to get me out." But when you look back at your life, you can see the hand of God, or you can see spirit or the universe. You can see it's weaving the thread throughout your life, and how the crap you went through built you into being able to handle the stuff you're going through next, or how you're helping others because of what you went through. Without that lesson, you wouldn't have been able to be a benefit to or have the impact to others. So, um, I
Yeah.
and in the case of this show, I fought it for 6 months. But here's the funny thing: when it's meant for you, the voice gets louder, the two by four gets bigger, and eventually you have to relent. So you either
Oh, yeah.
do it with faith when you first hear it, or you do it with obedience after it gets loud enough. And
Right.
both ways, it's what's meant for you. So,
Yeah. And it's
uh,
okay to question. You can question it and work with it and say, I'm so confused about this. What, I'm supposed to do this? What? How am I even supposed to do this? So,
abs-
yeah.
you have a book, from overwhelmed to empowered, the resilience guide, which is kind of hand in hand with what we're currently talking about. Can you explain the book a little bit, and then also the program that you're currently offering?
Yeah, I would love to. It's just through my practice, through working with people. So many people are just so overwhelmed. And so I created this. It's more of a guide, but it's overwhelm tends to progress with people. If we don't take care of it, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think that people don't realize you have all of the tools that you need right inside of you to handle this. And so much of it is our thoughts are taking over. So what this is, it's just a little guide, and it gives people tools. It talks about what is overwhelm, and you can determine for yourself what overwhelm is, because it looks different for everybody, right? What overwhelms one person doesn't overwhelm another. So it's a really personal thing. So take a look at it, and just, internalize this, sit down with it, look through the questions, and really do the work that's in it, because you'll find out different stuff about yourself, and then practice the tools in it. We don't know if something works for us unless we try, and so just try it and see how this works. The important thing is that none of this, whether it's massage, Reiki, Akashic Records, whatever, none of it is a one and done. We have to stick with these things. We want to, we want to improve ourselves. We want to be better for ourselves and for our loved ones, right? So it's just a way for us to take these tools, practice with them, and see what they do for us. And again, you got to stick with it in order to see How is this helping me? Is it helping me? How can I work with this differently? What do I need to do differently? And one really great question that you can ask at any time in your life when you are presented with something is, what is this showing me? What is this trying to tell me? What is this trying? What do I need to see here? Just get curious. Use your curiosity and get curious. And then this is also kind of a very condensed part of a 90-day program that I have. And the 90-day program is 6 elements of an empowered soul. The gosh, really the inspiration for my program is my mom. So my mom passed away at 63. She had a heart attack at 57, and then she ultimately passed at 63. And I can say with such confidence that if I had my mom and I could bring my mom into my 90-day program, it wouldn't have happened because we go through self love is the first one. Then we go through boundaries, connection, meaning and purpose, emotional intelligence, and then forgiveness. And if you have those things, if you have tools for each of those things, then you could pretty much get through anything. Now, again, everybody is different. So you may have to use your tools more than other people. You may have to just practice a little bit more. But it gets you to the point where you realize I have everything in me that I need. I don't have to look outside of myself for the answers. I don't have to look for outside validation if I'm doing okay. I can just go within and feel and be like, okay, I'm not having a good day. I need to set aside time for myself. Or, I'm having a great day. I want to share this feeling. And then it just kind of goes from there. It's all on my website. The 90-day program is on there as well. Um, and then I just finished my first level of QHHT, which is the Dolores Cannon program of quantum healing hypnosis technique. And that is just blowing my mind. So that'll be my next exciting thing.
I've done some QHHT sessions, and they are fascinating and amazing. And I've found things about my own life, looking back, where again I can see that tapestry of woven fabric, of things from my past or past lives into my future self, that just align and play out, and it's really fascinating. If anyone gets a chance to have a session, um, be prepared for an experience that is pretty mind blowing, but you have to be open to, um, the unknown in order to really benefit from it. But it is a great modality, and I highly recommend anyone open to it to, you know, give it a try, because you might find out something new about yourself that changes the rest of your life and how you move forward. So um, definitely do that. If you were to say, you've been doing holistic training and holistic healing for quite a while now. I think in your bio you said like 31 years, which means that you
Yeah.
started right out of high school. um, um, but if you were to look back and to look with all the people that you've encountered, do you see a common thread throughout?
Yeah, there is a common thread throughout. Yeah. I think that one thing is that people are so tired of seeking the answers outside of themselves and being told this is what you need to do, be, think, have. And they have started this, I mean, we're all on an ascension journey, our planet, everything, and especially in today's times, I mean, it's really accelerating. And I think people are just starting to question. And I raised my kids question everything, question, 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 even question me because that's how you find out about yourself. That's how you find out what you like, what you don't like, is through questioning. Just find out what you believe in, what you don't believe in, what you might want to be more interested in, what you might want to discover. And so I think that that's happening a lot, and people are just questioning, and they're wanting to be able to go to within themselves, but they don't know how. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to start. And so, sometimes I'll get people, they'll just ask me a question or two, and then that'll be it. And then I'll hear from them, maybe a month or two later, and then they're ready to book an appointment. And So all first time appointments are just a one appointment. You know, I have bundles, but I don't put anybody in a package right away because you don't know anything about, well, I mean, you may or may not know anything about me, but working on that kind of a level with somebody is really personal. And so you need to just kind of test the waters and see, because once you work with me, you might be like, okay, Debbie's just not for me, or okay, I trust her. She's for me. I'm ready to go into this further. Um, I would encourage anybody, just start opening yourself up just a little bit. Start questioning, start, thinking more about it in terms of yourself. We're growing up, I was taught, you cannot think about yourself. It's selfish. You think about you do for other people. I'm 60 years old, Daryl. I mean, I was taught you do not think about yourself. That is very self-centered. Da, da, da. And so many people were taught this, but it's just not the truth. We have to take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we don't have anything to give to anybody else. And so for a lot of people, that feels really awkward, right? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I need to go do this for this other person, even though I'm exhausted and I'm feeling sick. Well, you know what? No, you don't. Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. You can ask your spirit guides, your angels. You can ask God, source, anyone for help. But you just, again, you have to be open to then receiving that because it doesn't always show up in the way you want it to or think that it will look like.
Yeah, you have to get rid of the prepackaged notion of what the end result is going to look like and just do the work, and then the results will be for your greatest and highest good, because sometimes what we want in our package isn't necessarily for our greatest good, nor is it the level of goodness that is in store for us if we do it without the results expectation and just do the work. And connecting with whomever you work with is equal as important as the modality you're choosing, because some people will try it and say, oh, well, that didn't work for me, when in fact it just wasn't the right connection to make it work, you know? But yet the
Yeah.
modality will work if you are with the right connection, because you are the one who is doing the healing. My when my wife was in therapy, and I think everyone should be in therapy, by the way. But when my wife was in therapy, she'd come back from her therapist and go, Dr. D said blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said that to you before you even went. Can I have the $100 that you just gave him? But it's, the right
Right.
voice with the right time with the right message, right? And one of
Yeah.
the common things that I see in my clients is that they're all looking for purpose or how to connect for it. And then they're all fearful that there's already other people doing it. And I always tell them, go to any bread aisle in America. There's 35 different loaves of bread, all wrapped in plastic and all sliced, but somebody's buying each variety. So you have to work with the one that works with you, not just, oh, it didn't work. And the other thing you said, it's important. It's a repetitive process. Like, I go out and hit a golf ball, but I don't call myself a golfer because I don't hit it often enough. You know, I
Yeah.
don't go out and do the practice often enough to be good enough to be considered a golfer. I'm someone who goes out and dabbles at golf, right? So you have to do it repetitively in order for it to work. And I'll say to you what I've said to other healers and energy workers. I want to limit myself from saying healers and
No, it's
other
okay.
energy workers. I heard an amazing thing that a preacher said, and I don't often credit preachers for saying a lot of amazing things, because religion is a man-made thing and spirituality is your connection with source and God. But he said a lot of people are waiting on God, hence the prayer portion, right? But what if God is waiting on you? And it goes back to what you said, that little breadcrumb, right? When you can show that you can do, then more will be given. And so stop waiting on God, source, spirit, and start doing, and watch the change that cultivates and the transformation that your life has, because now you're in motion and now things are going to continue to stay in motion and get bigger, right?
Yeah, so true. So, so true.
You if anyone's listening out here and they're wanting to kind of find themselves, and I know the transformational journey begins within, but what would be your one piece of advice for anyone who's kind of on the fence about transformative healing or this type of energy work? What would your advice to those folks be?
I would say just start with where your curiosity is. If there's something that you're curious about, start with that. Start exploring that because our curiosity is so important and usually it will lead us to where we need to be. Now, again, it's not a linear thing, right? You might start over here and end up here or back here or over here or there. You might go in a circle, but just start there. And I would say to every person, you are worth it. You are worth taking a chance on. You are worth exploring. You are important. You matter. That is why you are here on earth. If you didn't matter, if your purpose didn't matter, you would not be here. It's as simple as that. It really and truly is. And our purpose is not just like one grand thing that we have. It's not just, oh my gosh, I know I have a purpose. I know I have a purpose. Our purpose, I believe, and what I have found to be true for so many of my clients is that your purpose is you. You are your purpose. Be you. There's not another person, not a single person who has your energy, who is you, who can be you. Yes, somebody can, we have imposters, we have all kinds of stuff. They can even have the same name, the same birthday. They could be born at the exact same time under the same sun sign and all of that stuff, but they are not you. And every person here on this earth brings something unique. Okay, it's unique, it's in your vibration, it's in your energy. And the earth, we all need you to complete that. So we're all a part of this whole. Okay, this is my belief that we're all a part of this whole. You're a puzzle piece of that. If you lose a piece to a puzzle when you're doing a puzzle, if you ever done a puzzle and you get down to it and you have one piece and you cannot find it, your puzzle's not complete. Where's that puzzle piece? I can't find it. So explore. You're worth it. You are so important and you matter. Please, 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 please.
Absolutely. And that goes to being that's a great example of we are all interconnected because you are purposed with something in your heart to bring forth, not to serve you, but to serve others. And that is not being self, um, it's being selfish if you don't bring that forth.
It is, yeah, because think of all the people that you could help that need your exact help, that
Mhm.
but you're not bringing it forth, right? And yes, you can try to be like somebody else, you can model yourself after somebody else, but what you have, other people need. And so, and if you're afraid, if you're like, oh, people are going to think I'm a freak, all of those start to let it out a little bit because you will find your people, you will find your tribe. It really is, all those sayings are true. And you'll feel like, oh gosh, okay, I love this. This is absolutely amazing. And it will work. I promise you it will. But you have to be yourself first. You have to let that out.
And I am going to segue that into the final question that I ask all of my guests. What does a warrior spirit or having a warrior spirit mean to Debbie?
Oh my gosh. To me, a warrior spirit is never giving up. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. Um, yeah, not on anything that I believe. If I believe it, I'm never going to give it up. We are so much stronger than we realize we are. And, I've been through dark night of the soul. I have been through a lot and I know my strength. I know how strong I am. And I am a warrior, and I love being a warrior. I love the warrior energy. I love that energy. It serves me so well, especially with myself. Internalizing that and speaking to myself and knowing what I am capable of. And knowing about, my ancestors that came before me. When I heal, they heal and they want me to heal. And when I heal, the generations before me heal. And so, yeah, I love the warrior spirit. I love it.
Well, I'm glad that you're part of my warrior spirit tribe, and it's such an honor to have you on. And we definitely were gonna have to do it again because we could make this multi-episodic for the conversation and the depth that we can go. So I appreciate you joining me today, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Really, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And if you would like to get in touch with Debbie, you can connect with her on her Facebook page or on her website, debbiebellon.com. And she has all of her connect contact information and program information out there. So definitely check it out and start your own energetic healing journey. Trust me, from someone who took way too long to start, but is glad he did, it's well worth it. So please do yourself a favor and reach out and connect with Debbie. And once again, I just want to thank you for joining us on this edition of A Warrior Spirit. Be sure to like or subscribe so that you catch all the episodes, and make it a blessed day.